G'day, today I've got a book review for you. It's Currawong, Surviving One of Australia's Worst Bushfires by Bronwyn Adcock. And the show today is brought to you by the free Structure Success training, which helps you come up with a rough outline for your own life story project. So stick with me to the end to get that freebie. So the book, actually, the title is called Currawong, the story of a fire and a community during Australia's worst summer. It's actually a really terrifying tale. It's been written by Adcock. She's a journalist, and she actually had her house burnt. She had to flee with her children, and her husband was, he was off fighting a fire and involved with the Rural Fire Service. So this book is their story, but so much more. It's telling the stories of others in the communities and of the communities themselves that are affected by this fire. The book was put out by Black Ink, and it took out the 2022 Walkley Awards Book Award, so a really notable award to win. And in today's show, I'm going to go over a little bit about what this book is about, what's interesting from a reader's perspective, but also what we can take away as life story creators. And you could be creating an autobiography, a memoir, a biography, or some other life story project. So let's jump into what this book is all about. So the fire, it started in a remote forest. It was a lightning strike. So the book goes over how that began. It grew and grew over a few weeks because it was drought conditions here in Australia. And so it started then striking farms, it started striking bush properties. In fact, it started striking whole communities. It just grew and grew. And in fact, it burnt 5,000 square kilometres, so much. Took over 500 homes and left a lot of shattered people in its wake. The interesting thing about this book that you can take away as a reader, one is that there's so many hair-raising parts to this book, I don't know where to start. But probably the one that stuck out the most for me was when the firefighters on the ground started saying or reporting that the nature of fire compared to what they're used to being fighting has just become more extreme. It's really harder to control. And for example, in there was firestorms. Now these weren't very common decades ago, but they're actually becoming more and more common. There's this trend, as our climate changes. So these are really powerful storms, so powerful in fact that they will flip a full fire truck. So they're that strong. And another interesting thing I learned from the book was just the accounts of ordinary Australians fighting these fires. Now they were looking after other people's properties, not necessarily their own, just random Good Samaritans turn up and have water on the back of their utes, just fighting fires for other people and helping to save other people's lives. So that was really, really interesting just to see how these people just selflessly helped others, and I think that was really powerful. But what tips can we take from this book for us as life story creators? I think firstly, this is a wonderful example of dramatic structure. This book was like reading a blockbuster movie. It was so much action, it was so much pace going on. So you can definitely take that away. A second thing was there's really raw emotional dialogue, as you would expect in some, this is a fire emergency, you're going to get that. And I think that Bronwyn does a fantastic job in putting that on the page. And of course, there's lots of Australian vernacular, colourful slang in there, and you can see how she deals with that. But one other thing that I think was great was the use of maps. Now, you don't get too many of these in life stories because they are quite difficult to create, and I think she's done a really great job here because they're not just a filler, they're not just fluff for the story, they actually help give the detail and they help convey the enormity of this fire. They actually help tell the story, so that is really, really great. So I would have a look at that and see if it is something that you could adapt or something that you might adopt for your life story creating. So there you go. That is just a short overview it's a book review of a Walkley Award-winning life story about living with fire and climate change. So to recap, we've talked a little bit about what the book is about, what's interesting and what we can learn for our own creating. And I hope that you will see that life stories are really valuable because they unite communities, and in this case they help identify causes or changes that are happening in and around us. So if you'd like to know more, I've got a whole article over at my website. You can see the cover of the book, a picture of Bronwyn, there's quotes from the books, also links to helpful resources for your own writing. Go to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/Currawong, and I'll have the link for that in the show notes or the description as well. And while you're here, let me know, have you lived through a fire? I know I have, growing up near national parks, part of being Australian at this point. So yeah, I'd love to hear about your fire experience. Please let me know in the comments or send me an email anytime. foreveryoungautobiographies.com/contact. You can drop me an email there. And at the top of the show, I mentioned the free Structure Success training. This is a video training. I walk you through the process of identifying key events, key memories to include in your own project. And you can get this training by going to foreveryoungautobiographies.com/structure success sign up. Again, all the links are for you in the show notes and description. So thank you for tuning in. I'll be back again really soon with another video, another show. But it'd be really great if you could subscribe, follow, like the show, leave it a review. And until then, happy writing.